Yo, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prodigy channel, and in this video I have another Dynasty trade review for you guys. I feel like these videos are pretty helpful because it helps other managers out there see some real-life Dynasty trades that are happening, and hopefully they can look at those trades and come up with some trade ideas of their own. So I'm just going to be walking through the trade, what I was thinking, and giving a brief little opinion on the players. And yeah, just kind of my mindset as I was going through this trade. This was an interesting trade because it was actually a two-team trade. I had one offer sent to me that was on the table, but in order to accept that, it involved me getting rid of one of my key running backs. So I need to make sure that I had another trade that I could get other running backs in return to replace that running back depth that I had just lost. But the main reason I made this trade is because I was offered one of the best fantasy and NFL wide receivers in the game today. I love him for redraft. I love him for Dynasty. He's someone who I've been wanting for a little bit, and when I was sent this offer, I knew I had to accept it. So we're going to go over that here in a minute. I think we're ready to get into the trade, though. So here it is. Boom. This is the trade. It's not that crazy. I traded Clyde Edwards-Helaire for Calvin Ridley. I was able to draft Clyde in the rookie draft one year. It was a year when I had the number 1 and number 2 overall pick because I just missed the playoffs. I won our consolation bracket, which gave me first place, and then I think I traded Keenan Allen for the 2nd overall pick. So with those picks, I took Jonathan Taylor and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Clyde, he had an okay rookie year. He struggled with some touchdown luck. He wasn't able to get into the end zone very much based on the touches that he got and based on the offense that he's in. The Kansas City Chiefs score a lot of points. So this isn't like anything where I'm against Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think he'll have a fine career. I think he has a bright future. And I'm not too discouraged by his rookie season. It was a little disappointing for some people, but I think things will be better moving forward. But with that being said, this guy offered me Calvin Ridley for him. I had to make the trade. Calvin Ridley, he has the potential to be the number 1 overall scoring wide receiver, in my opinion. He's a locked-in wide receiver 1, bare minimum, for redraft or dynasty. He's probably a little older than you might think. He's 26. He has how long has he been playing? It says 3 years. So he came into the league a little older. Just since I checked his age, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is also 22. So neither of them are overly old. But in Dynasty, especially, I really like to make sure I have those wide receivers locked in because they tend to have longer careers than running backs. So given the fact that Calvin Ridley is one of my favorite wide receivers for fantasy, he has league-winning upside, and the fact that he's a wide receiver in a Dynasty league, I thought, you know what? I got to pull the trigger on this trade. I have to make it happen. But like I said, this was sent to me, and in order to complete this trade, I had to make sure that I was able to add some running backs in return, because if I got rid of Clyde, my running back depth would have been pretty bad. To me, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, this upcoming 2021 season, he is sort of like a kind of like an RB2. I wouldn't really want him as my main running back, but as an RB2 paired with someone else, I like him. I think his volume is going to vary from week to week just because the Chiefs could pass it, 40, 50 times any given week. I don't know how many passes he's going to catch, but regardless, he was one of my top running back options. So without him, I needed some help. So what I did was I worked out a trade with another manager where I was able to get a little bit of running back depth. I got 2 running backs in return, and here is the trade. I traded away Amari Cooper. Honestly, I feel like in years past, I was always the guy that would draft Amari Cooper. I feel like everyone was scared to touch him, whether it be consistency issues or they just don't like him, whatever. But I got him in our Dynasty startup. I think I drafted him in the startup, and I was rocking with him ever since. I loved having him, and I love him for the upcoming 2021 season. If Dak can come back from the injury, I expect him to dominate. But I just acquired Calvin Ridley and got rid of Clyde. So I really needed some running backs in return, and I was able to sacrifice Amari Cooper because my wide receiver core just became that much more loaded. And I will show you the final team. You will see my depth right now. It's insane. And one more thing I will say before I move on with this trade is I do consider myself a contending team. So if I was a team that was at the bottom of the barrel, it wouldn't be as important for me to acquire new running backs. In my opinion, that's just sort of my mindset. I'm not saying, throw in the towel before week 1, but just in general, in Dynasty, I don't usually like to trade for running backs because wide receivers are just so valuable in Dynasty because their lifespan is so long. That's a weird term, lifespan. You know what I mean? Their playing career is typically longer in the league. than running backs. So if you can lock in that wide receiver core, and then just draft running backs and rookie drafts, that's kind of how I like to build my team. That's sort of what I did. But this trade that I made for Ridley made it so I needed to get Mike Davis and Joe Mixon. So quickly, like I already talked about Amari Cooper, I think he'll be a solid wide receiver too. He has the ability any given week to go nuclear. That's why I love Amari Cooper, especially with Dak Prescott and that explosive offense. I think he'll go crazy. Even with CeeDee Lamb there, I think they can both eat. I also traded a second and a third also. But what I got back was Joe Mixon and Mike Davis. So Joe Mixon, I feel like people are a little numb to him, whether it be occasional, not performing the best, or him being injured, or things just not working out for whatever reason. It just seems like there's a little fatigue with him. So I feel like this was a good trade for me because I feel like he's a little undervalued currently in a lot of fantasy managers' minds. But in my opinion, he's still a very, very talented running back, and he's going to get a ton of volume with the Cincinnati Bengals. They just got rid of Giovanni Bernard over the offseason, so that's one less running back that's going to get carries. So if he can stay healthy, I expect him to be a very, very, very great volume play at running back. And yeah, it's going to come down to health, I think. And if he stays healthy, he'll get the touches and he should be productive for fantasy. And this is a half PPR league, by the way. So hopefully he will catch some passes as well. And then I also got Mike Davis. It almost seemed like he was treated like a throw-in. But in my opinion, Mike Davis has some value this year. I've heard some people say last year with the Carolina Panthers, after McCaffrey got hurt, he started hot and he kind of faded down the stretch, which he definitely did in terms of points per game. I've seen a lot of people saying that it's because he can't handle a full workload over the course of the season. Whether that's true or not, Mike Davis doesn't really have a choice but to receive a lot of volume with the Atlanta Falcons. They did just sign Wayne Gallman recently. As of this recording, I'm recording this on September 6th. This trade was made all the way back in May 24th, but not much happened in between then. It's a dynasty trade, so there's a bigger lens that I'm looking at it with, so I figured it wasn't that big of a deal that it took this long for me to make this video. But they did sign Wayne Gallman. He was not on the team when I made this trade, but to me, I'm not super worried about it. He might, most teams have, pretty much every team, unless you're Christian McCaffrey, and also James Robinson last year. He was another guy who got like all the touches in the backfield. My point in this whole McCaffrey, James Robinson rambling is most running backs, if not all of them, have another running back on the team that gets at least a decent amount of touches. So if his only competition right now is Wayne Gallman and like Cordero Patterson, Quadri Ollison, if he's even on the team anymore, I feel like he's going to be a solid volume play, especially if you look at my depth. He's not someone that I'm going to have to rely on every week. And he is someone that I did have on my team back in the day when he was on like the Seahawks and the Bears, I think. I did end up cutting him because I thought maybe he'd have a role. He never really amounted to much. And then McCaffrey goes down. And this guy was actually the McCaffrey owner, so he picked him up. And then, long story short, I did get him back, so I thought that was pretty cool. But I think, the upside for Mike Davis this year, I don't expect him to be this guy who is going to be a cornerstone piece of my team, especially if you're looking 3, 4, 5 years down the road. Probably not, because Mike Davis how old is he? He's already 28, so for a running back, that's pretty old. But for this year only, I expect him to contribute, fill in for bye weeks, fill in the flex if needed, injuries, you know what I'm saying? And he should be, solid running back too, flex play. But yeah, even as a contender, if he gets out hot, I might try to trade him for draft capital, maybe for another player, maybe some sort of package, just because I don't really love his long-term outlook. But I think this year you could get by with him as a solid contributor. And then also, since I went through everyone else's age, Joe Mixon is 25, so still pretty young. And Amari Cooper, 27. So yeah, this is the trade that I made. And then here is the current team. So as you see, Jonathan Taylor was sort of my main running back. Miles Sanders was kind of up there. And then I had Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I got rid of him for Calvin Ridley. So you just put Calvin Ridley in there, take out Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And then after that, Calvin Ridley basically took the spot of Amari Cooper, a trade that I'm willing to make, a swap that I am happy with. And then in return, I got Joe Mixon in there over Clyde Edwards-Helaire, which honestly, they're pretty close for me. But I would lean Joe Mixon a little bit more just because of that guaranteed volume. He's a little bit older than Clyde, obviously, but Joe Mixon's volume is like, it's locked in. It's, you know, he's going to get touches unless something just, unless the coaches just do something super weird. But Andy Reid for the Kansas City Chiefs, who knows what volume Clyde is going to get any given week. And then on top of all that, I also have Mike Davis to come off the bench. So this is the squad right now. I made a video about this earlier, which it seemed like a low-key trade at the time. If you saw it, you might have been thinking, why is he making a video about this? But it was a trade where I got rid of James Conner for James Robinson and like a 4th or something, a rookie pick. And it was like, okay, no big deal. But it turns out that ETN for the Jacksonville Jaguars gets hurt. James Robinson is all of a sudden someone that's on my team. So that's kind of why I like to make these videos, so that, you know, maybe you can get some trade ideas of your own from them. But yeah, now I got James Robinson, another guy. He's kind of similar to Mike Davis, where James Robinson is someone who is going to contribute this year. And he contributed last year. He was amazing last year, but obviously Jacksonville drafted Travis Etienne, another running back, in the 1st round. I expect him to come back next year and have a big role. So James Robinson is another player, just like Mike Davis, who long-term, there's definitely question marks, but for this year, they'll help me get to the playoffs, hopefully the championship, and I can trade them before the trade deadline if I feel like I don't necessarily need them. But I'm not going to sacrifice a chance at a championship for future draft capital, because I'm going to try to win now. But that's just something to consider that I might do with those guys later on in the season. But yeah, this is a 10-team league, by the way. So for a 10-team league, 3 wide receivers, 1 quarterback, 2 flexes, 2 RBs, tight end, and a DST. I don't know, guys. I mean, in my opinion, this is a pretty solid team. And then to end things off, I did also acquire Chase Claypool in a trade recently. And if you guys like this video, let me know. I feel like these videos are pretty helpful for at least providing some context to some of these trades, because it's a little different from looking at a trade chart to actually seeing someone making a real trade in real life. You know, it's a little bit different. The context, I feel like, helps. So if you guys want to see what I was thinking when I made this Chase Claypool trade, I can tell you what I sent away for him. I can always do that. Just comment down below. And just as an example of that context that I was talking about over just looking at a trade chart, a video like this kind of tells you that, you know, this is a good trade in my opinion on paper. I think I'm getting the value in Calvin Ridley over Clyde. But if I'm not able to make this second trade, I probably don't make this first trade, even though it looks good on paper if you just compare the 2 players. But if I were to make this trade and not be able to make this trade, then all of a sudden my running backs are looking pretty, I mean, I still have some good pieces there, but the depth would really be lacking. So yeah, that's enough rambling for me about this trade. I hope you guys like this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure to drop a like if you did enjoy the video. Subscribe for more fantasy football content. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.